Hello,
Hey
sir.
there. Hey,
How
how
are
are
you,
you?
Mason? I'm good. How are you?
Very good, very good. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you so much for taking the time of joining me today. I appreciate it very much. Where are you calling from?
I live in Duluth, Minnesota, so I'm right on the tip of Lake Superior, way up north.
I've never been. I have actually family in Minnesota. I've been promising to go visit, and I think that after if they listen to this podcast, they're gonna come and like chase me a little bit about it. Like, yeah, you said it. You made it there. You made it. You told everyone about it. Now you have to come.
Yeah,
So
well, it's
how's
beautiful.
it is? How's the weather right now over there? Still getting cold already or not yet?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's I was actually just down south 2.5 hours yesterday doing some appointments and I didn't need a jacket and then I drove home that same night and had to pull it out of the back seat. So it's starting. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can. Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I always carry an extra jacket in my car just in case. You never know. So I am currently in Taos, New Mexico. This is where my family lives in northern New Mexico, just border with Colorado. I drove from Denver this morning. I'm gonna be in New Mexico for a couple of days, and then heading to Texas to run some business, have some appointments over there over the weekend. But anyway, so thank you for joining me today on this 11th episode, Mason. So I want to start a little bit to know a little bit about you. I know Evelyn said great things about you, say that you're a great person to begin with. Of course, you guys work together, but we've never met before. So I would like to know a little bit about you. Tell me about how you got started with Family First Life. What do you used to do before Family First Life, actually?
Yeah, so I used to work for a large company that did insurance as well as retirement and some investments. And when I first started working there, I started in their call center for post-issue life insurance policies. So I was talking to agents, captive agents for that company, as well as clients about their policies that already existed. Um, and I never thought that I would be a geek about life insurance, and that is exactly what happened. I then moved into being a call coach. So I was coaching other employees on not only product knowledge with the life insurance, but also how to provide a good customer experience. And then I switched over into helping out in the retirement area and then made a career move to become a manager in the retirement area. And I, to no surprise, I really enjoyed managing a group of people to provide excellent service. But after about 6 months into that job, it really started hitting me that I wasn't adjusting anymore to the role of being a manager. I truly did not enjoy being in the retirement space. And I thought back to all of these moments where when I was helping out in the life insurance area, I remember thinking, wow, these agents, like, really, a lot of them don't know a lot of things. And I was educating them on the phone, and I thought, wow, about life insurance. Um, and I know that I'm good at talking to people. I should probably be selling. And my thought on getting started as an agent was that it was incredibly difficult, and especially with the comp rates that I knew were out there, it wasn't
Right.
something that I had actually considered doing. Um, but Evelyn and I actually went to college together, and we
All right.
hadn't talked for 7 years, but we followed each other on social media. And I had been seeing her post things for a while. And eventually, I had like a bad day at work, and I just messaged her and I was like, I have a lot of detailed questions and I would love to hop on a call. Um, and she was a champ because I wasn't I was going all in on the questions, and I took a big leap. I went from a corporate job with benefits. I enjoyed my coworkers, and I started this. So it's been quite a journey.
Fantastic. How long ago have you started?
I started in the beginning of August.
Very recently.
Yeah. And then, so my first actual full month was the, uh, was October. So October was my first full month. And then, I, I went on my honeymoon in September for like almost half of September.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're
So
welcome.
a break like that is interesting too. It was fun to go on vacation, but it was almost kind of like starting all over again once I got back, even though I
Hmm.
probably had 4 consecutive weeks, or no, 3 under my belt. But
Hmm.
yeah,
Very good. Thank you for sharing all that stuff, Mason. I appreciate it. So yeah, clearly, Evelyn, you went to Evelyn and you asked 1,000 questions. For the sounds of it, you sound very much like myself. My upline, her name is Silvana Bayor, and she's amazing, and she's also a family friend of mine. So when I found out about Family First Life, it was through my mother because I was in the same boat as you, not very happy with my job, trying to make a switch. It was about a year ago actually when this happened, and my mom mentioned, yeah, Silvana looks like she's doing really well. You should reach out to her, learn a little bit about what she's doing with Family First Life. So before even going that route, I did a bunch of research of my own. Do you do any research before even going on the questions to Evelyn? I'm sure you have,
I did a little bit. Yeah, yeah,
right? And just because I'm curious, what kind of questions were the ones that you were asking Evelyn when you came to her?
yeah. So I was asking how, uh, how a comp rate like that was even possible, and I asked how the Family First Life was still in business. Like my head is like literally business wise, how is this sustainable for Sean Mike? Um, and, and she mentioned that he's been pretty straightforward about how the business did struggle for a little while because he wasn't willing to bend on his principles on paying people much better than what other companies were doing. Uh, and I also talked about chargebacks because I knew that those were a thing. And then I definitely had questions about the leads because I think I think there are a lot of people that are entering that do decide to do this that enter with, you know, the amount that you spend on leads to be successful, especially in the beginning, is a scary number. You're literally just like doing that first and hoping and trusting yourself that it's going to pay out. So we talked a lot about that too.
Very good. What was your first, speaking of that, what was your first investment that you did leads wise? How much you spend on your first batch of leads?
That's a good question. I probably spent between, I probably spent about 700.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And
And
do you remember what kind of leads you got?
they were all internet. I actually dipped into mortgage fairly soon after that, which I learned later, like, yeah, they're fun, but that's a whole different type of appointment. But I
Oh yeah.
did I did instance, but I did a lot of older ones because it my county didn't have a ton built up of instant ones, so I did 1 month, um, a few new internet, a few instance, and some 3 month old, I think.
Very good. So out of that initial investment, how did it go? Were you able to set appointments? Were you able to make any sales from that, or how did it go overall?
Well, I booked 8 appointments on my first dial day, which I
Uh-huh.
was happy with. I knew what
Oh
the
yeah.
goal was. You usually want to get to 15, so I was celebrating my success, but like, okay, I have room to grow. Um, and I I made a few sales on my first day. Like my first 2 appointments were sales. So that was just remarkable. And I didn't even know how remarkable it
It
was
is.
until
You
I
know, it is.
saw
It
other
is.
people starting. Yeah.
No, it is. It is 100%. I don't know that many people, but they are there. One of my agents, her name is Elizabeth. She's also fantastic. And on her first, she went uh, 4 out of 4 her first 4 appointments, and I was like, what? And she had zero experience on life insurance before that. Of course, here you
Wow.
knew a lot about life insurance, but she knows a lot about people, like being with people and taking care of people, and she's a people's person. And she did what she had to do best, put people first, and then the rest follows, right? And she had good
Hmm.
intentions, so clearly the people could feel that. So, dude, that's a great start, great way to get going, because if you spend $700, you close the first two, you probably already by then you already broke even and made some money.
Hmm.
Sounds about right. And
Yep.
then what do? You went and invested more leads, or what do you do?
Yeah, yeah, I did. Just made sure, just those first few weeks, I was very focused on making sure I got my bills paid, and but did what I had to do to dip into savings to get those leads taken care of. Because all
Especially
the
after
trainings I heard, they said you needed to do that. Yeah.
it's true, but the thing is that people at the beginning they're probably scared about it because of course they are betting on themselves. You don't have that parachute or cushion of that W-2 paycheck coming in every 2 weeks or so, right? So
Hmm.
if you don't trust yourself and you don't go all in, it's really hard to even make it happen. Like you have to have that mentality that, and for the sounds of it, you did your research, you knew that you could bet on yourself, and it paid off,
Hmm.
which is great. That's fantastic. So you mentioned that you're also an expert in insurance, and you realized how little some people knew about insurance and how they were selling and making probably some money on those commissions without knowing anything. Uh, so, for example, if you do you have like the typical question like what is a whole life insurance or what is a term life policy or stuff like that blew your mind away, or what was it that was surprising for you?
That happened, and I really enjoyed when people told me right away on the phone that they were a new agent when I was in that
Yep.
previous role, because I was like, great, now I'm gonna go all in on explaining this really well to you because you want to learn, because you threw your ego aside and now you're gonna benefit from it, right?
Right.
But there were different features that were very straightforward about policies too that they had no idea. And like they they're whole life policies that pay out dividends. And I saw a lot of policies that had such a large buildup of dividends that made that whole life policy much greater in value than the original death benefit that they took it out for. And that was a big part of the business that we were in, because this company has been around for a really long time. So
Right.
um, they like just them not understanding how they could steer people in a really poor direction as well about taking out loans and not following up with them and paying them, because those loans can default. And then I had to have a conversation with someone who had a $200,000 loan out on her life insurance policy and didn't pay on it. And you get to take out those loans tax free.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't pay on them and they default, you're going to get a bill from the IRS, or I mean, that's going to be
Yeah,
two hundred
of
thousand
course.
dollars or whatever of taxable income that you have to then fork up in that same tax year that it defaulted, and it can ruin people.
1000%. That is wow. Yeah. So is- being with Family First Life, we have access to so many different companies, right? In your opinion, what are some of the best products that we have that you think, man, this product is awesome? Because I'm sure by now, you being a bit of an insurance geek, you probably went through some different products of that we have. Be like, this is a really good product. Like you don't have to say about which ones are not as good, but I want to just to emphasize which ones you believe they are. This is a great product that I recommend my family or my friends that this is like you should have this if you're in your 30s or if you're in your 50s or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Anything that comes to mind?
yeah, two of them. If so, I mean, the Americo cashback term is amazing when people can qualify for it, and it's in that sweet spot of being the right amount of affordable. I know when people get into their 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
the cashback can get a little wonky with the pricing, but I'm able to talk about that not only from a perspective of mortgage protection, obviously, but also from the perspective of if I have somebody that's young. I was just talking to a 20-year-old. Him and his wife are both 20, and he wants some insurance. And I'm able to talk about that like two policies in one, because this guy who has cheap rent right now, he might own a home in the future. He can take out 150,000 and have that be well within his budget.
Mm-hmm.
And understanding that, ideally or usually your income grows. If you're 20, hopefully when you're 30, you're going to be making more money, right? But
Yep.
that policy is going to be there for 30 years. If he doesn't tap into it, then he's going to get $18,000 to $25,000 back, depending on which one he chooses. And I talk about that as, yeah, you can spend that on something, on retirement, whatever, or you can set aside a separate savings account and you tell your family this is to not be touched until you pass. And now you've got a term policy with a lot of bang for your buck. You've got 150,000, let's say, of death benefit. And then when that's over, you basically saved up
Get your
money
premiums back.
to have a permanent policy for your final expenses. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I really like that. And then I'm a big fan of index policies. They
You're
grow
right.
for you. That you can customize them so well. You can funnel money into them for 10, 20 years and then start scheduling withdrawals whenever you want. I mean, they're really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, the other thing that I really like about the CBO option, the American product, is the living benefits,
Yeah.
uh, which is also a huge thing. So if people get diagnosed with terminal illness, a critical illness, or a chronic illness during the term, they also get access to the amount of coverage, more or less, depending on what they may qualify at that point in time. But I think that part is fantastic as well, Mason. But yeah, I think that's one of the products I've sold the most this year. I think is, in my opinion, is a no-brainer. Is like everyone looks at it and they're like, oh, it's basically a savings account with benefits. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
basically what it is, right? So yeah, the moment they have that aha moment where they realize they're getting all their money back if nothing happens, they're like, yeah, this is a no-brainer. Good, man. That's fantastic. I love talking with someone who understands products and who really is passionate about it and passionate about teaching people about it, because a lot of people, yeah, we're very similar on that area, Mason, because I love to share my knowledge. I love to share with people. I don't care like if people, hey, I'm sharing it because I would like for you to also be better or get better or so on. And this podcast, this Instagram live, the whole purpose of it is to share this knowledge for other people to be able to grab it, absorb it, implement it, and be able to become better if they choose to, right? So the information is here. Go use it if you can, if it comes in handy. And I know that Evelyn joined us for a little bit, and then we have here Henry Payne, who was very recently with Andrew Taylor. So I know, hello, Henry Payne. I hope you're doing great. He was in one of our episodes early on. He's been killing it. Very proud of him. And so tell me a little about what has been challenging about transitioning from your W-2 job, even though you have all that experience, to now being your own boss.
Yeah, I've come to realize that it's not the working for myself piece that is challenging, um, in the sense of like having the correct work ethic, which is a great challenge because that's or a great thing to have realize that I have, because that is certainly a mountain that some people do need to climb. But you know how when people do something and they don't have any prior knowledge about why they're doing what they're doing might be hard, or that other people struggle to do this one thing that you just did, and so it's like there's no mental anything with it. You just go out there and you're like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot, and you do it. And I think that some of that is what happens when people start. If somebody's good or makes some sales when they start, um, it's possible that when they start building up that knowledge bank of, oh, this person actually struggles to do what I just did, and you just start learning more. I think you can shoot yourself in the foot sometimes mentally. And I think that that's definitely what happened to me for a little while. I was in my head, and I was making it complicated in my head, and I think that that was coming forth in ways that I couldn't even tell you now with my clients. It must have been just little things that really prevented me from being able to fully help people the way that I should have, because a lot of people don't want to make a decision. And if you do your job right, you're going to help them get to that decision, to get them something that they actually need. So, and then the longer that that goes on, right, you're like, oh, I need to make some money, especially because I'm new. And you can get yourself on this cycle. So everybody talks about mindset, and there's so many facets of mindset that can come into play depending on who you are, what your circumstances are. And I think for me, what helped me is to talk about it. I I'm perfectly fine with reaching out to, like, I reached out to Evelyn a lot. We both knew I wasn't selling. I was going through the motions, but
Right.
I wasn't getting paid for a little while. And we talked a lot. And that, if I would have isolated and not talked to my wife about what was going on, not talked to Evelyn, um, I who knows how much longer it would have gone on, right? So I don't think it's about having your mindset perfect all the time. I don't think that that's like some end destination that somebody gets to where they never have to try with their mindset. I think it's important that you start trying to recognize when your mindset is probably affecting you, and you take steps to help get some outside perspective. And that's what I did.
And I think that is fantastic because you're keeping you're leaving your ego behind, and you're trying to learn and trying to uh, see how you can get better. And like you mentioned, different people have different situations that they're going through, and the mindset has to be different scenarios. And your scenario is different than my scenario, than Evelyn's scenario, than many other people's, because we are fairly new, right? That our scenario is very different from someone who's been doing this for 5 years, who's been going up and down the roller coaster and so on. So that is a very good point that you bring up, like sharing it, having your support system, the people you can talk it through, that you can work not only about the moments where you struggle, but also going over the the things that you did well, just to make sure that you did it well, understanding why you did it well, in order to be able to repeat it. Because we are people that our behaviors basically we're based on behaviors at the end of the day. The kind of behaviors that we repeat every single day are going to be the ones who shape us into who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's very interesting to know what behaviors we're doing well and what behaviors are not helping us. So, um, in order to help us become better at what we do, and not, yeah, to continue evolving and not the opposite. So, thanks, man. That was I really like what you share there. Tell me a little bit. Are you building a team? What's your plan on that end here? Are you just going solo at the moment? Because you mentioned earlier that you've been a manager, that you enjoy teaching people, and that you really enjoy doing all that stuff, which is great. But then you also mentioned the fact that you were not very happy with this section about, and then you left and you wanted to do something different. So I don't know if it was team oriented, or what made you feel that way. That's why I want to know if now you're ready to go and step back on the, I want to build a team, I want to lead some people, I want to teach them. Where are you at right now?
Yeah. So with my previous role, it was really just solidifying because I finally actually had the manager title. It did solidify that I love leading people. It was just the content of the job, um, separate from the leading people part, that I realized I was just going to be chasing my tail. forever
Hmm.
in that organization. So, yeah, I'm going to build a team. I have been excited about continuing to get more consecutive weeks after coming back from my honeymoon under my belt.
Hmm.
I think it's important that when I bring people on, I have something to say. I have a little bit of experience, right, to talk about here's what I struggled with, here's what I know other people have struggled with. I can show you that I can be successful in this. And I'm hitting that point where that's what I can say. So um I'm definitely building a team. I'm definitely building a team, um, and I'm just getting started. So I don't have anyone specifically right now that I'm their upline. I have somebody in the pipeline that I'm really excited about,
Okay.
but
Good.
um, I'm excited to work with Evelyn and some other folks and figure out how to get people on, and I'm excited to help them thrive.
Fantastic. So that is great. If people wants to work with you, Mason, how can they get in contact with you?
Yeah, so they can text me or call me. My cell phone number is 763-257-2701.
Fantastic. Great. So I know that you're building right now a team, but this is a question I ask all of the people who come and join me. Say, how do you challenge your team? Your team is not just the people who are below you, but there are people who are also above you. And the good thing about it is that you get to answer this question. How do you challenge Evelyn on a daily, weekly basis to be on top of it there to help you get to the level where you want to be? Because I'm sure you're constantly throwing things at her that you're like, oh my God, I didn't think of this, or how do I do that, or whatever. But how do you go about challenging her to help you get to the next to where you want to be?
Well, I think Evelyn Evelyn and I have it was really nice that we just got to pick up our relationship after 7 years. Like we already knew each other, right? Um so that was nice to not like have to start from square one. But with Evelyn, I think I've challenged her with showing her what somebody who's really serious about the business, and who wants to be someone who will grow the business. Some of the questions that some people are going to probably ask her in the future too, because as she's building, she's going to, ideally get more people like me who are serious and not going to just be afraid of hearing no and quit. And so understanding some of the questions that people are going to ask, but really what we've been for each other has been a sounding board. So because of my background in helping to coach individuals and to communicate inside of more of like a job setting, like in the corporate world, at least for me, I've been able to lend another perspective on different things that she's going through with recruiting or, different employees. And so it's been a very reciprocal relationship where it's like I'm helping her build her business with some of the more in the background, kind of like a consultant type of thing. And
Right.
she's
Yeah,
she's
you have that background. Yeah.
yeah, and she's helped me so much in helping make sure that my dial days are more successful, being better on the phones, and helping
She's
me
a
keep my
machine
mind
on the
right.
phones. She's a
Oh yeah.
machine on the phones.
Yeah,
She's so
and
good.
she's so good, and she's so good at giving a pep talk. You wouldn't believe. If anybody needs a pep talk, you call Evelyn. She's gonna fire.
That's great. That's fantastic. I'm gonna have to take you up on that. I might give her a call sometime next week. So tell me, how do you challenge yourself in these early stages and to continue developing yourself, to continue performing, especially now that you want to have that continuous showing up week after week and so on. How do you challenge yourself?
Yeah, so I'm challenging myself to continuously spend money on leads. I think it can be easy to start to get a little freaked out sometimes on random weeks. But also, I'm challenging myself to quit being so hard on myself. It's really easy to
Good
start.
point. Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Great. Finally, someone said it. Yes.
Yeah, there have been so many times where Evelyn has complimented me on something, and in my head I'm like, "Thank you, but," and I've talked about like something that didn't go perfectly inside
Right.
of this thing that I did well. And that is
Right.
just such a recipe to never feel satisfied with what you're doing. And
Right.
you can't be comparing yourself to someone who has been doing this for years. You've got to keep looking at where you're at and competing with yourself. So
And
that's, yeah.
that's a great point. That's something that I'm working on myself right now to be better at receiving. Meaning when I receive a compliment or when I receive something to be better at that end of the stuff. Because myself, I'm more of a giver kind of guy, trying to help people out, be there, be available, and so on. But when it comes my way, I try to be like, no, I don't need it. It's okay. I appreciate it. No, I could have done this better. And I see exactly what you're saying. But a lot of the time, it's kind of like not being, and don't get me wrong, you don't have to be cocky or anything about it. Like, yeah, it was really good. Thank you very much. No, no, no.
Mhm.
It's remaining humble, but appreciating what's coming back to you based on what you're giving out to the world, right?
Yeah.
So that's something I'm working on, and I think that you hit it right on the nail about how sometimes we push back on the good things that are coming our way instead of embracing them and letting those things fill us up with joy, right?
I think
Awesome.
there's a big difference between somebody saying great job and you saying, yeah, but this thing I really did bad at that, versus thank you, but hey, I want to know your opinion on this thing that this part that I think could have gone better. What do you think I could have done differently? The way that the way you're speaking out loud, that's a direct reflection of how you're training your brain to think about what you did. And yeah, I might be working on that forever, but I can't stop trying.
Let me tell you, Mason, that's a very good technique, and I appreciate you sharing that because I'm gonna start using it as well. So thank you. I appreciate it. Wow, cool. So tell me, I know, of course, coming to see the clients, this is the last challenge question, is about how you challenge your clients, right? But the question goes more into you are a guy who knows products, who knows how insurance works, who knows the ins and outs to educate customers as well. I love educating customers so they can make smart decisions and not just forget why, like a month later, like, why am I even paying this thing? No, I want you to understand exactly what this is doing for you today, tomorrow, and a couple years from now for you, for your family, and so on, right? So, how do you challenge them to understand you?
That's a good question. One thing that I will say real quick is I only recently have started booking on the hour for certain hours at a time on my day, and I, at least right now, I'm still not getting all my appointments on time when I do that. And I think part of that is figuring out how to balance the educational piece with time and how many appointments you want to have. But it feels better to me to come out of a sale after an hour and a half appointment right now, at least, knowing that I was able to hit all those points and do what felt comfortable for me. I'm sure I'll be able to get faster at some point, but that's something that's been helpful for me to be in the right place with that. But with clients, I've started trying to figure out what I'm trying to take stock of what their approach is to decision making while I'm there. And depending on what their approach is, that will inform how I go about challenging them if they do provide some sort of rebuttal to the situation. So if I know that if somebody's clearly given me indications that they are a doer and they are just like, yep, I do make decisions, but it's got to make sense. That type of person is usually very straightforward, and they don't want sugarcoating. They don't want a bunch of filler words and everything you're saying. They just want you to cut to the point.
That's
Um,
right. That directors,
yes. And then you've got some people who love numbers. And I
thinkers.
remember, oh yeah. And I remember writing down the numbers, and she kind of seemed like a little stressed about time because she was like doing a lot of addition in her head. And I was like, hey, take your time. I can tell you like the numbers. So I'm going to actually write down a couple more just so you can see them all. And so I think she felt really heard and seen that I put forth a few more, you know. When you can pick up on those little things, I think it makes it easier to, I mean, A, build a relationship, but once you have that relationship built even a little bit more, it makes it easier to challenge them when they're challenging you. So if somebody is going to challenge me about numbers, I've already gone through their financial situation, and I'll say, you know, I'm not showing you any numbers that I think would be hurting you more than helping you from a budget perspective. So what what else is there? You know, really trying to draw out what their actual objection is. Because if I've done my job right, they can't really object on the financials, right? Or the value of
Right,
the insurance.
right. Very good. Very, very good. Great. How's your Spanish, Mason?
Used to be a lot better when I was taking Spanish 1 and 2 in middle school, but it's bad now. I wish it
That's
was better.
okay. That's okay. Well, we're about to do a personal challenge that I make everyone do. I'm originally from Argentina myself. I've been in the States since 2007. That's where the accent comes from. So I apologize if sometimes I don't say things right or you can't understand me. It happens. Um, anyway, so this is a challenge for you. It's a phrase in Spanish that I ask people to try to repeat it. Let's see if you can make it happen. Let's see if middle school Spanish is gonna do the trick.
Okay.
So it says, si no es ahora, ¿cuándo?
Say it one more time.
Si no es ahora, ¿cuándo?
Si no es ahora, ¿cuándo?
Desafía este momento.
Desafía este momento.
That was very good. So, si
Thank you.
no es ahora, ¿cuándo? Desafía este momento. What it means is, if it's not now, when? Challenge this moment. Because that's the whole purpose of this particular Instagram live slash podcast. Is like how we challenge ourselves on a daily basis to become better, and how we challenge each moment, because the day is filled with multiple moments, and how we challenge ourselves throughout the day to be better. And I really appreciate you taking the time today to joining me on episode 11, to sharing your knowledge, your experience since joining FFL just since August, which is fantastic. I know that you're going to be doing fantastic things moving forward. I have no doubt. And if you need anything, you can always reach out. You have another person here as a resource in whatever way I can help. And if I know it, I'll more than happy to help you. If I don't know it, I'll point you to the person that will. Because the cool thing about Family First Life is that everybody wants to give you their time. Everybody wants to help out, help each other out. Even though we're all independent, we all work very well as a team. So thank you for your time. And last thing for you, you get to pick who's the next person to join me, because just like Evelyn chose you, you get to pick whoever you like, and you have to tell me why it would be a good value for people to watch that person and to listen to that person.
Mm, okay. Well, has Kiefer Zimmerman been nominated yet?
She has not been nominated. Kiefer hasn't been part of it yet, and I know she's great. I knew her name's gonna was gonna come out at some point in time. So if you want to nominate her, she's gonna have to be up then.
Yeah. So she is. I mean, there are a lot of great reasons to nominate her, but she's been incredibly consistent, incredibly um, successful, and she is very down to earth and really is someone where if you want to hear about her perspective and you reach out to her, she's going to find a way to give you her time. So I think everybody has a lot of things, little nuggets that they can pick up from her. So she's an easy choice.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I'm looking forward to reaching out to Kiefer to be joining me pretty soon, hopefully 2 weeks from now, because next week we have another agent coming in. But I really appreciate again your time, Mayson. It's been an absolute pleasure. If you need anything on my end, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm in your corner, all right?
All right. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and choosing me to hop on here. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You go take care of it and keep rocking, man. Have a good
Yeah,
rest of
you
your
too.
weekend.
You
Take
too.
care. Bye bye.
Take care.
Well, thank you so much, everyone who joined us today. Mayson was fantastic. He's been with FFL since August, just doing great. Has a lot of knowledge, a lot of product knowledge, because of his previous background before selling insurance. And let me tell you something. Here we have Michael Herman saying, "You guys are great." Michael, you're great. Thank you for joining us again today. If you haven't listened to Michael's podcast, go check it out on Spotify and on Challenge This Moment. Great episode with Michael. So great work from Mayson. If you just listened to this, I highly recommend coming back and taking another listen to it. Um, and then or find it within the next week on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and Challenge This Moment. And I look forward to reaching out to Kiefer Zimmerman, which I know she is amazing. She's a Hall of Famer already. She paid over $400,000 this year. And I know she's going to make some more because there's still the month of December. So I look forward to reaching out to Kiefer. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me. Have a good one.